Hello everyone. Today we've got a special request from Orlin. We're going to be making a Semibot from R.E.P.O. So let's get started. We'll click the blue Create button, make a new document, and we'll just call this Semibot and hit enter. All right, as this comes up, let's take a look at what we're going to be making right here. So this is basically the playable character from the game R.E.P.O. It is called a Semibot. It's actually going to be pretty simple for us to make this, given that it's mainly just geometric shapes. So I think we'll start with the body here. If I look at, let's go with this one. I can see I've got a cylinder that goes into a smaller cylinder, that goes into a smaller cylinder, and I've got a little notch, and then I have the head right here. We've got arms that we can also revolve, legs that we can revolve, and both of those we can just mirror. Same with the eyes. We can just revolve spheres and mirror that across this symmetric central plane right here. So let's get started with the body. All right, I'm going to click on my front plane, make a sketch, type N, so I'm looking right at it. And let's make that body. I'm going to grab my line tool, zoom in a little bit, and we have one cylinder that then goes into a smaller cylinder. I'm going to zoom out a little bit here and zoom back in. That then goes into an even smaller cylinder that is the head. And then it comes down. And we'll probably have to change these a little bit. So let's take a look again. Looks like I went in too much, but that's easy for us to change with our dimension tool. So we need to get a little bit smaller dimensions right here. So I'm going to type D for my dimension tool. Grab each of these. Let's make that 2 millimeters. And obviously that just kept all the same ratios of lengths that we had. So let's go 15 here. And then let's go 20 there. You can see we're starting to get closer. This is shorter, this is longer, and then we have really short right here. So we'll make that 10, and maybe even 5. Yeah, I like 5 better. And even so, I think we might still be a little too big on this 2 millimeter dimension here, but we'll give it a shot. So green check mark and revolve. We're going to click the face we're going to revolve here, click our revolve axis, and there we go. Green check mark. Now, if I look at my Semibot here again, we can see there's a small chamfer here and a small chamfer there. It's not a 90-degree angle. So I'm going to add that with my chamfer tool. We'll go to the chamfer here, and we'll go to the chamfer there. Obviously 4 millimeters is way too big for a 2 millimeter ledge, so let's make that 1 millimeter for now. Actually, let's go with 2, because that's how big our jump is. And right now we can already see that's too big of a jump. I'm going to bring this back down to 1, and then change our shoulder here to 1 as well. So I'm going to double click back into my sketch 1. This 2, I'm going to make 1. And this, I'm going to make 1 also. I'm going to press D for dimension. And then 1. And green check mark. I think that is a lot closer to what we're after there. You can see that's pretty similar. If we don't take into account the head, which we'll add later, I think that's pretty close on the body there. We could probably make this just slightly shorter. I'm going to double click into sketch 1, and let's make that 13 instead. There we go. Yeah, I like that a little better. Cool. So now let's add the legs. Let's do that next. So Also, really easy for us to do. I'm going to go into the front plane. I'm going to make another sketch, type N, so I'm looking right at my sketch. And it's just going to be another revolve. Super simple. Let's see, is the foot rounded off? Looks like that's pretty flat on the bottom. So I'm going to go right about in between this center dot and the edge here, a little bit further to the outside so we have some space between the legs. Go straight down, over just a little bit for that flat bottom, and then up at an angle and close it off. And green check mark. And then I'm going to revolve this. So click my face, click my axis, and there we go. There's a leg. That might be a little stubby. Yeah, that's definitely a little stubby. We'll have to make that longer, but that's okay. Green check mark. And the first thing I'm going to do is mirror this across so that we have two legs. So I'm going to click my mirror tool right here. And we do not want to mirror parts, we want to mirror features. An extrusion, a revolve, a loft, any of those are features. And we just made this revolve right here, which is the leg. So that's what I want to mirror. And my mirror plane is going to be this right plane right here, the one that goes right through the middle of the body. So we'll click that. And there you can see we have two legs. Green check mark. Now if I go back and look, obviously the legs are too short right now. They're a little too stubby. So let's change that. Double click into sketch 2, type N, so I'm looking right at it. And we can drag this down, make it longer. And we can change this angle if we want to. I'm going to type D for dimension. And let's see, 10 is actually what I want there. So we'll go with a 10-degree angle. For here, let's go with 1 millimeter on the end of the foot. And let's make these 20 millimeters long. Let's see what that looks like. And then I'm going to drag this so it's about where I want it to be. And green check mark. Let's see if that's more like it. Yeah, that's closer to what we want. We can still change the angle a little bit if we wanted to so that these aren't quite so big at the top. Up to you, whatever you're feeling. Next, let's add the arms. So it's going to be the same kind of process as the legs because obviously they look really similar. They're just skinnier. I'm going to click the front plane. I'm going to make a sketch. I'm going to type N, so I'm looking right at my sketch. Let's zoom in right here. And I'm going to make pretty much just a triangle because if you were to cut this right down the middle, you would have a triangle. I'll show you what I mean there. So I've got my line tool. Let's go make a triangle. And I'm going to type D for dimension. I want this to be 90 degrees exactly. There we go. And let's see, what angle do I want here? These arms are pretty skinny, so let's go with like a 6-degree angle. See what that looks like. And then I can also change the angle of the arm relative to the body. That's maybe a 10-degree angle right there. Let's try that for starters. So going to dimension this. We'll go with 10. And if we look at this, obviously this is way too short for how long the arms are. So let's dimension this length and make that maybe 20 for starters. Now what I can do is click, hold down, and drag and get my entire triangle in that box. And then when it's all highlighted like that, I can drag it. I should be able to drag it and move it wherever I want it to go. So let's go about there for starters. Green check mark. And let's do this revolve. I'm going to escape or press spacebar. So this isn't highlighted anymore. Revolve. And it's going to be this face right here. Don't think you got it. There we go. And then our revolve axis is right here. And there we go. There's our arm. Obviously, it's a little bit rounded on the top there. So let's add that too. In order to do that, the easiest way is actually for us to make this arm an entirely separate part, not just a feature of this body. So instead of adding material to the body, we're going to make it a new part. green check mark. That way, if I hide part 1 being the body by clicking this eyeball, you can see I can select this whole outside for doing a fillet. So we'll click right there. And yeah, that's about what I want right there. 1.5 millimeters. Green check mark. Let's show the body again so we can see what we're working with. That's probably pretty close to what we want. Maybe a little bit longer and maybe a little bit shallower angle even. So double click back into sketch 3. Let's try 25 millimeters. And let's try 4 degrees. Getting real skinny. I'm going to type N, so I'm looking right at it again. That's probably a lot closer to what I want. Shoulder is right up at the top of this part of the body. Hand is right about the middle. And that's pretty much what we have here. I'm going to do the whole thing where I click and drag again so that I can move this. Come on, let me move it, OnShape. It is not letting me grab this. I don't know why. Maybe because of all my constraints. Certainly possible. Oop, there we go. Just lost connection for a little bit, that's all. Double click back into my sketch so that I can edit this. I didn't get what I wanted. There we go. Man, it is taking its sweet time thinking right now. There we go. Now I think we're about where we need to be. Let's get into that sketch. There we go. All right. So click, drag, and let's move this where we want it. So about, yeah, probably there. Green check mark. And it's going to think again for a bit. But as soon as it sorts out where it is, it should automatically reapply the fillet, although the fillet might be too big this time because it was set at 1.5 millimeters. Oh, looks like it still didn't fail. Would you look at that? It still just barely fits. Perfect. All right, so let's mirror this across this right plane here again. So we'll click mirror, and we're going to click, and this time we do want to do a part. I don't know why it's having so many connection problems. This time we do want to do a part, this part 2 right here. So I'm going to click mirror. Entities to mirror is going to be part 2. Mirror plane is going to be the right plane. And there we have our second arm. Oh, we're getting so close. Now we just need to add the head. All right, to add the head, there are a few different ways you can do it. If you just want to have it be like this, then we're going to go ahead and do it that way. But if you want to have it so that it's at an angle like this, you can certainly change the way you do a revolve to add that angle as well. If you try and figure that out, I can also try and help you learn how to do that. But we're just going to do it the easy way for right now and make it look like this one. So click my front plane, sketch, type N so I'm looking right at it. And let's grab the line tool again. We'll go about here, just below the other part of the body, up just a little bit, and about that high. Let's also make sure we don't forget to go back to the center and up like this. And then we're going to grab a 3-point arc, grab here, and click just about anywhere we want it. So then I'm going to grab the tangent constraint right here. So click there and click there. And now I'm tangent, which is exactly what I need to make this curve right here. Perfect. And then how I'm going to make this perpendicular with this is by making sure my center point is on my line. So I'm going to go and grab my coincident constraint, grab this point, and grab that. There we go. Now I just need to drag and move things so they're actually where they need to be. Doesn't have to be quite perfect. It'll still look really good, just like that. And that's the head, so green check mark. Let's do our revolve. Grab that surface. There we go. Face is right there. Revolve axis is right here. And we want to add this time. We don't want to make a new part. Merge with all. Green check mark. There we go. All right, last thing we got to do is just add these eyeballs. So that's going to be a pretty simple thing to do. We're just going to go and make, if we look at it from the top right here, make a sphere right there and a sphere right there. We'll be able to mirror this across our central plane right here as well. So pretty simple. In order to do that, I'm going to have a plane showing exactly where I want my sphere to start. So let's click our plane tool, which is right here. I'm going to grab the top plane and I'm going to drag it up through the middle of where the eyes are going to be. So right about there. Green check mark. Then I'm going to make a sketch on this new plane. So sketch right there. Type N. So I'm looking right at my sketch. I don't know why the arm sketch is there. It must be some kind of bug. And I'm just going to make a simple half circle. So we'll make a circle. It's going to be where we want our eyeball to be. Not quite there. Let me drag that and move it. Let's see how big this should be. Pretty big. So if I click D for dimension, let's make that 7. See how big that would be. That's probably closer to what we need. We'll go there. And we'll cut it in half with a line so that we can revolve it. Type M for trim. Green check mark. And then let's revolve this. Grab my surface. Revolve axis. And that's going to be add as well. Green check mark. And then I'm just going to mirror that across this plane right here. Is there any way I can get rid of that? It doesn't look like it because I can't click on it. All right, mirror. And this is going to be a feature mirror as well. So let's grab that feature in our mirror plane, which is the right plane. Didn't quite get it, looks like. Right plane, there we go. And that should do it. Oh, reapply features. There we go. Green check mark. And there we go. Now, if you want to, you could also add the pupils. Big pupils we have right there. I would actually do that just by cutting in to make flat spots where the pupils would go. So I would do that. Let's see. Probably by taking another plane right here. So let's use our plane tool again. Grab our front plane and make it so it's cutting just through the front of the eyeballs. So I'm going to grab this arrow and drag it until it's just barely cutting through the front of the eyeballs. And I can grab this left plane right here just to make sure I'm where I need to be. Move just a little bit more. Yeah, something like that. And you can really fine tune it with this if you'd like to by changing the number. And then green check mark. And then I'm going to make a sketch on this front plane that we just made. So click that plane, click sketch, type N. So I'm looking right at my sketch. And then I'm just going to draw a really big rectangle that I'm going to cut out of the eyeballs, like that. Green check mark, and extrude. And let's extrude this entire rectangle. And we don't want to add material, we want to remove material. And it's trying to go the wrong way, so I'm going to drag it the right way. Green check mark, and there you go. There's your R.E.P.O character. All right, let me know when you get this done, and if you're able to figure out how to make the mouth open, and we'll get this printed off for you.